the website League of Game Makers, they post a lot of interesting game design related articles. They had one the other day about tiebreakers and how the author of this article felt was the best way to go about designing them. And he had a few rules, so to speak. One was that they should be thematic. One was that it should be something. The one I think is most interesting is that it should be related to the actual goal of the game. So his example was, I believe it was viticulture, where the tiebreaker is money, as it is in many games. But he didn't like that because you technically, like, money isn't something you need to win in that game. So it's almost like if you wanted to have that tiebreaker secured, you're going out of your way.
No, I agree with you with that because one of the things I think is a good tiebreaker. Well, there's a few. One, I think thematic is a big one, and I think that not just because, like, if it was a space game, something space related, but like if your game's sillier, it'd be like whoever drank the most in the game or something. Like if it was a drinking game, something that sort of it's not just it's when you feel good or silly, whatever you did. But the other one might be like you might have both technically hit 50 points, but let's say I did it in a much more efficient way. It's like something that rewards you for having maybe if it was less trains on the map, so I did it with less trains somehow.
Well, how do you feel about
something that shows that while you both made it to the end, one of you did it better. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. What do you think about tiebreakers in general in a game? What do you think about a game that just says it's a tie? And that's it. Do you prefer to have a tiebreaker, or are you like, it's a tie, who cares?
I think it's usually nice to have a one-step tiebreaker if there's a really obvious one that, like I said, that fits in the way I said.
Sometimes there are 5 or 6, and it gets a little out of hand.
Other times, I do think if you can't do that one, I do think if there's just a money thing, it's just one coin, that didn't matter, the viviculture, I'm that's not a worthwhile one. Mm-hmm. So I do think it is fine to just say, you tied. Congratulations.
I think it maybe depends on the game too. If it's heavy war game, you want that. But if it's Dixit or something, you're whatever, you tied. Just have some fun with that.
And of course, it's always hilarious when it's if you want to know who won the tie, send us $20 and we'll say.
Yeah, it's a certain point they're just look, just let it go, or play another game. I see that a lot. Just play again and see who wins.
Well, I think another one that's interesting. I don't know your opinion on this one. Mm-hmm. Because it sort of fits into the money one, but almost a different way. Every now and then there are a couple games in which there's tiebreakers decided because there's one card in the game that says you win tiebreakers.
Wait, what? That's a thing.
I don't know the winner who has this card or something.
Interesting.
So it's almost like you're saving that one card, but it's almost built for. It's not money which you're getting automatically. You're getting that because of the tie.
Yeah, I don't mind that too much. I mean, honestly, I don't worry too. I feel like if you're tied with someone at that point, you both kind of know, look, we both did really well.
No, that's the truth.
It's almost arbitrary. Okay, you can say you won. It's whatever.
Well, it's almost like if you tie, well, I still did as good as the best person, so
right, yeah.
But sure, it's fun to go through the tiebreakers, not because to see who won as much, to be all right, what are the reasons they have
It's fun if somehow you literally do go through 5 things and you're just exactly the same on it all. Yeah, and of course this really only comes up in games with points.
Which is what, 90% of games?
Yeah, that's true. It's just almost.
That's why we're waiting for our game with schmooples.
Yes, those schmooples, way better than points. It is interesting. I'd be interested to hear from people what some of their preferred tiebreakers are in games,
or maybe some great stories about some tiebreakers.
It's almost the opposite end of
we don't think we've tied that often in our game.
It almost never happens.
Maybe once.
So rarely. I can't even think of a time.
Yeah, what I think happens a lot for us, which I also think is always a fun, interesting thing, is when you get that 1 point ahead of someone.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Or 3 points behind or whatever.
Or then there's that one person just is gone.
Yeah, that's usually what happens in our games. Usually one person has just a huge lead. It's so rare that, and I think that's maybe because we play so many different games. Mm-hmm. If we had a few that we played a lot more, that everybody started getting.
Well, no,
I
do. would say that usually, with the exception I think of maybe 1 or 2 times, in most deck building, in particular the DC deck building, the fly swatting one, and legendary, I think we do tend to have a very closer score.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something you need to take into account a lot with tiebreakers. Really, when you have people who've played your game a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So let us know what your thoughts are on that. I think it's kind of an interesting subject.